Are you ready? What?
Hey.
Well, let's go, man. Another week of a pretty amazing independent bottler, Andy, so to speak. Last week was Lost Lantern, Nor and Adam, and tonight, who do we have?
You jump right in, don't
I
you?
love it, dude.
You jump right in.
I'm really excited.
You don't say hello to anyone. You don't greet people.
Nope.
You are the guy that opens your Christmas presents 3 days before.
Well, no, I can wait, but it takes like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like other things. Yeah. We won't go into that. I'm excited because I've absolutely just got that, didn't you?
Wow, that's fantastic and probably spot on accurate.
I just got
that is awesome.
Yeah, there's a couple of distilleries in 2023 that really wowed me. Yeah, we love we do love Lost Lantern, but we love Still Lost, and they've kind of blown up this year. And the other, if I would have to pick two whiskey companies that sort of, I think, have at least wowed me and blown up in 23, it's certainly KLuke. And it's happened late last year, right? But I think it was batch 3 or 2. Yeah, 2.
Before you go off on your dissertation.
Anyway, I love KLuke. Go ahead.
I know you do, but we would like to bring our guest on in a second.
Yes.
So, we're excited because, again, we hope that you have been enjoying. We've had a lot of guests on. It's always good to kind of put a face, a name, a story behind a bottle that you're drinking. That is what I do love about the whiskey community, is it is so communal, and there's great stories with everything. So that is kind of what I love. And there's another great story here tonight, which is fine. And I feel this connection, Todd, because 2 weeks ago we had David Souza from Corbin Cash on.
Yeah,
he was Portuguese.
That's
so my wife was really happy because my wife is Portuguese. But Jonathan happens to be a fellow paisan of mine. He's Italian, which is great.
Yes.
So without further ado, super excited to have him with us tonight. But from KLuke, Jonathan Maisano. Jonathan,
right,
what's up, man? How are you?
Aboard, guys, how you doing?
Good to see you, man. Joining us from
well, pleasure's all ours.
Thank you for being here. And you're joining us from the grand state of Mississippi, right?
That's right. So we live.
How hot is it? How hot is it in Mississippi right now? Is it nice or is it chilly? What do we got?
No, it's pretty nice. The weather's up and down about every day of the week, though. But it's summer here about 10 months out of the year. So
got it. Yes, I like that.
I could do that. You're not far from. You're about an hour and a half or so from New Orleans, right?
Yeah, about an hour and a half. So we're kind of centrally located everything, not too far over to Mobile, Alabama, and all sorts of good things nearby.
So, Jonathan, I've kind of quickly got into my love for what you've done in a very short time. And we have questions about that. But for anyone who's out there right now and watching and saying, KLuke, interesting name. I've never really had any of their stuff. Who are they? How did you get to where you are? Give us the backstory. And I think it's a great story because it's about family. And that's something that me and Andy are really, passionate about as well. So tell us again, sort of, going back to how you first started this brand, even before that, what you're currently still doing, but how that's all started, so to speak.
So I'll kind of try to keep it a little abbreviated, but the really long backstory is, today being Repeal Day. So my great grandfather had the first package store in New Haven, Connecticut. They opened up December 10th, 1933. So 5 days after Prohibition ended. Before that, my family imported olive oil. So the original Maisano's was in New Haven, Connecticut. Fast forward about, a bunch of years. I started off working in restaurants, really got into studying wine, took my first SOM certification, and really started to identify flavors and aromas and really hone in my personal palate to what I enjoyed, and really trying to focus on flavor development and just trying to pull things out of, it's all the same, right? Food, wine, whiskey, it's all the same, trying to pull out those flavors and aromas and memory recall. Then after that, I opened up my own retail store. It's been 19 years ago this month, called Maisano's Fine Wine Spirits. And about 11 years ago, a guy from Four Roses talked me into going to the distillery and picking out barrel number 1, So I picked out one Four Roses barrel. Fast forward 11 years. I have now selected 415 single barrels.
Wow.
I've gotten to taste with pretty much every master distiller and every rickhouse out there. And you can see a lot of the bottles behind me. Those are all, my hand selects over the years. And of course, plenty of KLuke with our offerings the last 18 months. So that's really kind of where my background comes from to start the brand KLuke.
So you've done 414 more single barrel picks than us, Andy. So what we're saying is we're close. We've done one.
Got a few to go.
You've done 415, but you remember that first one, like we will as well. You always remember that first one. And I saw you on another stream. I think it might have been Jason's Mash and Drum, where you mentioned how that first barrel pick you did. Well, of course, you went and did Four Roses, which is a pretty amazing pick. That really is what sort of started the fire about where you are today, correct? I mean, doing it 415 times, got the rhythm. I can maybe do something even more with these barrels and blend. And that's not an easy jump, doing single barrels to actually now blending and actually rising so fast like you have this year in the last 18 months. It's not easy to do. So, accolades to you. Wow. It's amazing.
Appreciate it. For me, that first trip was really a mind-blowing experience, right? I got to, so kind of along the way, I had met different people from different brands. So this first trip to Kentucky, I got to go to Bill Samuel's house and have a cocktail on his back deck. When I'm here with, of course, picking barrels of Four Roses, right? Which was just a mind-blowing experience to taste through all these different barrels and really understand how significant and special each barrel of whiskey is and how different the flavor profile is. I got to meet Tim and Eddie Russell, my prized possessions, a 1979 Wild Turkey that my dad bought from his dad's store in
Nice.
21. So it was just an incredible trip. Spent about 5 days up there, which I learned is a couple days too many to spend in Kentucky. Figuring out one barrel. We won't talk about how much money I figure I lost on that trip when it was all said and done. But
that's right. Hey, that was like market research for where you're at now, right? It's all, that's what I think of.
Kentucky's becoming the new Vegas, where you can lose money that you didn't intend to lose.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, sometimes the girls get far out of control and you spend $100,000 and $200,000 before you know it. But that's all part of the fun, right?
Yeah, and we'll talk real quick about the history as well. But I think your wife is integral in what you're doing today. She is also the other half of what this brand is, and the name is because it's from your two kids, correct? So it's a family-oriented business. And again, me and Andy love that.
Yeah, that's it. So the name, KLuke. So the K is for our daughter Caitlin. She's 11, and then the Luke is for our son Lucas. He's 6. Awesome. And really the whole idea of KLuke is Jennifer and I really want to share our love of whiskey and family with the world. This brand means an awful lot to us, much more than just the whiskey in the bottle, but it. We get to spend time together. So kind of the process for blending for KLuke is we buy barrels from all different distilleries. Like I said, I've gotten tasted almost all of them now. And, it's always been fun picking out single barrels, but like you said, blending is far more difficult. It's a much more complicated process. And it's really something kind of magical, right? When I hit the right blend of flavors, it's something special. Right. So I will sit down. I rate every barrel we own, just like I would in single barrels. I rate them all by does it fall kind of in that citrus, fruit forward profile, caramel toffee, spice driven, upfront, mid palate, weight, back end. All these different check boxes for me, my rating system. And then when it comes time to build a blend, it's like, okay, we know we want to have fruit. We know we want to have structure like that caramel toffee. We want to have spice that's integrated and balanced, not over the top. We want to have a long finish, something that's really important to me. So then from there, I set my notes and start creating blends.
That's, what I like about that too is that it puts pressure on you. But it's almost like it's like coming up with a new album every time. Like this last album was so good. How do we top it? And that's what you have to kind of do, because each batch has its own unique characteristics and qualities that people have loved. And so you have to come up with something new and innovative again, but stay true to kind of the KLuke brand, which is not easy to do, I'm assuming.
And probably like a musician would tell you, I'm sure people ask those guys all the time, right? Like, what's your favorite song or what's your favorite album over the time? And I'm sure your answers come similar to mine. It's what am I in the mood for, right? What I love about wine and whiskey both is there's all these different styles based on what are you in the mood for? People ask me, what's your favorite batch? I'm like, I don't know. I love them all. Batch 3 is softer. If I want to drink something more mild, the proof's a little bit lower. If I want to go with something kind of big and broad shouldered, I really like 1 or 2. There's more spice in the back end. 4's got more of that cherry fruit. 5 and 6 are kind of this nice combination. I think, coming out of batch 7, it's really got a nice structure to it, just really well-rounded. And that's really the goal of every batch is not trying to make one better than the other ones, but trying to make sure they're all unique and different and equally exciting. That's our whole premise.
And I think that's what I've loved so much about it, because how often, Andy, do you get whiskeys and batches and there's just like, oh, it's the same. And I don't want to name names, but it's like, you know what? It's what I tasted last quarter or last batch. And yeah, I like it, but I want something a little different. I want something new. And now we've only had 4. We've had 4, 5, 6, and 7, and they've all been unique, which I think that's probably, it's what you're striving for, actually, right? It's not the same profile every time. You go into a blend thinking, okay, this is what I'm looking for, which is different than, say, the previous batches, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. If I was trying to make it the same every time, how exciting would that be, right?
Right.
Now, I always tell people, a big name distillery that wants a very consistent product, they might blend upward of 1,000 barrels together, right? From different parts of the property, different rick houses, different tiers, different depths in the warehouse, all these different ages, because they want it to be very consistent. I always tell people, if you look at something like Jim Beam White Label, right? The goal is Jim Beam should taste the same today as it did, 20 or 30 years ago, 20 or 30 years in the future. That is the goal, is to taste exactly the same. And for me, kind of backing up to single barrels a little bit, every time I picked out single barrels, people always say, well, what do you base it off of, right? What customers are looking for, this or that. I said, what I always base my single barrel selection is everything's always been blind, right? Because I want to speak in the glass. If I can't get in the glass and the nose and the palate and be excited, then it makes no difference. I don't care about the age or any of the fancy things, right? Whether it's a certain warehouse or this or that, that's all fun to know after, but all I care about is how does the whiskey taste in the glass? And that's the mindset we put together on every blend of KLuke, is we say, okay, what is the most exciting? Because after I create all these blends, then generally I start running through blind tastings. We run the batches against each other, and I make adjustments one barrel at a time. We keep doing that over and over again.
That's an arduous process for you guys, right? I've read and saw that your blends go through. First of all, you blind everything, right? So age statement for you, proof is not on any of the blends that you're going through and deducting to what the final blend would be. You have, what do you start at? Like how many are in that sort of first round of taste or blinds that you do to get to your batch? Like how's that process take? How long is it? How many rounds are?
Yeah, like I'm sitting here right now as I'm talking, I'm looking at probably, I don't know, there's probably 80 or 90 barrel samples right here on the table next to me. So,
yep.
And it's really not even so much about that. It's really about going through my notes and saying, okay, what combinations sound exciting, which I've learned over the years. Sometimes it's exactly what you envision. Sometimes it doesn't taste anything the same. Sometimes one barrel that sounds great on paper totally overwhelms a blend or totally gets lost. And sometimes you find out something is just totally different than what you expected, right? It's like, wow, where did that flavor combination come from? And that's really what we're looking for, is the wow factor. So once I come up with that first round, we taste everything blind. So Jennifer's never tasted any of the whiskeys. Usually it's at least, a week or two in between from when I created all the first round of blends, and we sit down and taste through them. And my goal is never to say, wow, is this the third or fourth blend, I created? It's always like, what speaks to us? And then, like I said, we each take independent notes. It takes us probably, I don't know, an hour to go through those first 12 blends. And then we compare notes. Each one of us go through each blend and talk about what we liked, what we disliked. If we both really like it, it moves on. If one of us likes it, not the other, it's like, okay, what was missing? What structurally, flavor-wise, was not present in this blend to make it great? And then I go back to the drawing table and I reblend that blend. Sometimes I might reblend it 3 or 4 different ways, with different barrels and different, different mash bills. It's one of the really cool things that we're one of the few, blenders out there. We have all these different distilleries and mash bills and ages. And it's solely based off of taste and what's exciting. So
that's amazing.
I love that. And so I'm wondering how, Jonathan, if the secret might be to have your spouse involved.
Yes.
Because, last week we had Lost Lantern on.
That's
they had
true.
to agree on everything or didn't make next round. We had Mark and Sherry on. They had to agree on everything, the Carters before. So maybe that's the secret. Maybe, the secret to whiskey is to involve.
Well, let me ask you that.
Half.
That's a good question. So, Jonathan, what happens when you and your wife, I guess, is it always unanimous on that final blend? It has to be, I guess, right? I mean, if there's one thing that the other doesn't like, it doesn't make it past, right? You both have to be like, this is good. This is the best, right?
She's back to the blending table to figure it out. So So what's really neat for us is obviously I'm much more vocal about what I like. I love to describe it, being in retail for 20 years and restaurants before that. Jennifer's much more reserved as far as talking about it, but she knows what she likes and she knows what she doesn't like. And she has no problem letting me know as we taste through the whiskeys. And then, her also very important job is the finance side of things that keep me out of trouble numbers wise. I'm like, hey, I think she's like that. So very, very important balance to, me being out on the road in front of people and her keeping everything behind the scenes working and make sure I don't get myself in trouble and get us in trouble. So after we go through all those rounds, the next step, which I think really separates us from everybody else, is now we say, okay, we really love, maybe these 3 or 4 blends. Now we say, okay, what are the best bourbons out there in the market that people are excited about, right? About this, or this. We run all those blind. And if I can help it, if something new comes on the market that we haven't had, that I've never tried before, and people are excited, I will never taste until we run to a blind tasting. So we'll usually do sets of about 8 different bourbons in blind tasting. So we'll do our top, blends that I've created. We'll usually throw in either the previous KLuke batch or maybe 2 KLuke batches, and then try to throw in a couple other bourbons. Usually we'll just start kind of 1 KLuke and a few other bourbons, and they'll start narrowing down and start trying to get rid of some of the blends that don't stand up or aren't quite as exciting of ours. And then we continue to go through that process over and over, and I continue to make adjustments.
So what you're doing is you're setting the bar high. You're setting the bar very high then for each batch, because you're not only doing it against your previous batches, but other commercial, highly sought after, probably reputable bourbons that you enjoy. And you're trying to, I guess, get a blend that's better than that, right? I mean, that's the bar there, right?
Yeah, and it's not always even to say better, but hopefully more exciting or more layered.
Okay, there you go.
Because obviously we're running against our own blends too, right? So when we know it's something special is if we tie at the end, like a new batch, and it's up against, big limited release or something. That's kind of when we know, when we start to beat those out over and over again, we've got something really special there, especially when we both agree on it. We're both equally excited when we check our notes. So,
gotcha. So then let's talk about this, because batch 7 just sort of dropped. Now, here's the one bad thing tonight. We were supposed to have the Keenan Reserve, which is your cab finisher. I do want to talk about that. It's available right now on sealbacks. Batch 7 is on both shared pour and sealbacks. I can't believe it's still there. We have batch 7 here. Can we talk a little about batch 7? We'll go through maybe and compare it to other batches. We have 6 and 5 here, and also the rye. But let's talk about batch 7. It just came out. I can give you my thoughts. I absolutely love it. I think I emailed you, Jonathan, earlier, and when I cracked it open this weekend, I was so excited because it's funny. I loved 4 so much. We drank the whole bottle. I didn't realize, I guess I didn't know. You don't know what you got till it's gone. Isn't that a Cinderella song, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there was no more. Like, it was gone, right? You couldn't get it again. So, and then 5 came out. I got it, loved it. 6 came out. I liked that even more. And now 7. I wish I had 4. We have to find 4 somewhere. I think 7 is my favorite expression you have done so far. I love. I pour it right, Andy. Have you tried it, Andy? You're drinking it.
Let's do it. Let's take it slow. You're getting excited.
I am.
You want to pour 7 there, Jonathan?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let you guys taste alone.
Are you already drinking?
I have 7 poured, buddy. It's one. I told our close friends when I popped it this weekend.
Are you gonna?
This is. I tell you, it's gonna be. Listen, KLuke batch 7 just was on what, Up Rocks top 100 at 27, right, Jonathan? This just came in as
really exciting for us yesterday. Number 27 in their top 100 bourbons of the year. I had no idea they were even reviewing it. Never mind making almost the top quarter.
So they got it quickly and put it. That just got dropped this weekend. So I mean, this just came out, guys.
All right, but you're gonna have to do this.
What?
Okay, we're Italian. We will cheers beforehand, so you can't. You have to actually wait to do a proper cheers because he doesn't do that. It was Slayton. Let's
yes. Well, John, cheers, brother.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
All right, so batch 7 is available right now. If anybody could put the links in the chat, I know it's on shared pour, it's on sealbacks. The Keenan Reserve. We'll get to that, but that's also. God, I wish we had that. We'll talk about why that's so special. And I'm so Anyway, so batch 7. For me, with this one on the nose, is it safe to say, John? I hate to use the word, but I feel like this is the sort of most. It's not cloyingly sweet, but it's a sweet and spicy bourbon. I get more of those. Again, it's not cloying, but there's a sweetness to this that I don't think I picked up on some of the other, or maybe it was dark chocolate on other ones. or peanut butter brittle on other ones. I get more of sort of the honey, brown sugar, vanilla custard, dark cherry. That's what I'm getting in the palate on this. That's my palate.
Yeah, and it makes sense. You like this, you liking 4 so much, right? So for me, 4 is more like dark cherry, like Luxardo syrup, where 7 to me is brighter. We actually had this the other night at a cigar event, and I got like raspberry cotton candy kind of jumping out at me having it with a cigar. And I just, for me, I just love it's got the brightness, it's got the darkness, the richness, like you said, it's got that caramel toffee, that kind of like brulee custard thing going on, and the spice is just right. There's just enough to keep the exciting, keep the finish exciting.
Too. Yep. Yeah.
And
it's beautiful. 116 point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just beautiful. I absolutely love it. The question is, well, I think you're right. It's what mood are you in that you'll say 4 is better than 7 or 6? I mean, I think if you blinded it, depending on what your mood is, you could pick something different each time for your offerings. And I think that's a testament to what you're doing. One of these will be in our top 10. I don't know which one yet. Maybe we have to blind them. But even then, it's sort of like maybe it's just a KLuke 2023 batch. That's where it's at, Like that to me, because these expressions are also different and also good. Well, maybe we can put them all in there. Why not?
Yeah,
there's 5 of them.
We do whatever we want. Am I wrong? I'm getting like one of the differences with this when previous batches is I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a citrus note that I never got on any of them before. And I'm feeling like I'm seeing that coming like almost like an orange peel. Am I crazy with that, Jonathan, or are you getting like hints of that
on the back end? And as it's taking the first couple sips, it's kind of you get that vibrant pop coming through.
Yeah,
it's almost like you kind of get like the spice, and then you get that little hit of that citrus peel on the back end along with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really nice. It is as it finishes, you get a little bit of that just kind of almost like a hint of an orange peel that kind of goes really nice with that long finish. I think this is a beautiful pour. And so I'm going to ask you a question then, because this is another thing. It's funny that this comes up a lot when we're talking to people who have entered into the world of whiskey. A lot of them have prior wine knowledge. How do you feel like that background in wine? And that wine was maybe it's the Italian blood, but wine was my first love before I got into whiskey and beer too. What does that do for you? I know that it helps elevate the palate, but how does that really make that transition just an easier foray into whiskey?
So I think probably the most important thing for me, studying with the quartermaster sommeliers, which is really rigorous, and I only took the first level out of the 4.
It's crazy hard. It's really hard.
But what really makes you focus on is memory recall, right? People don't understand. It's like when you talk about tasting and smelling whiskey or wine, you have to have memory recall to go back to, right? You're trying to remember an experience. We would taste in groups of about 12 people, and there'd be a lot of times you'd smell a wine and you're like, I can't, there's something familiar, but I can't quite place it. And someone would call it out across the room. And you're like, yeah, that's it. And the more you do that over and over again, they used to make us go to the grocery store and smell like, all the fruit and vegetables and spices. And you're like, well, this is ridiculous. And they're like, no, you have to be able to relate what's cinnamon compared to nutmeg, compared to, more like wood spice, right? Like there's all these different things. And is it red fruit? Is it, you're leaning more toward cherry or raspberry? There's a brightness, like citrus. And I really think that has been a tremendous help in, my journey the last 2 decades through wine and whiskey and getting me to this point of really, really knowing what I love. People always say, well, how much focus are you on the customer? I said, well, for me, either people trust me or you don't, right? Trust my palate. That's my whole goal is I'm part of selling this product is selling myself, and that you trust me and you trust, my experience over the last 2 decades with wine and whiskey. Because if you start focusing on anything other than how good is the whiskey in the glass, I think you do just worse. If you start thinking about, well, this could be this big name bourbon, or this could be this age, or this could be this. Yeah. Right? How does it show in the glass? And that's how you pick the best whiskey.
And I think I love that. You've certainly, for me at least, you've earned that, and I think, a lot of whiskey geeks, like, we like to know age statements because it relates to the price of your product, so to speak. And I think what you're saying here is true. It doesn't matter. It's basically what it tastes like is what should dictate whether or not you're going to buy that. And you have to have that. You took a leap of faith doing that, right? Early on, you weren't putting the age statement. You weren't putting the mash bills, the blends. You say a high rye, low rye, but other than that, that's all you get. And that must have been difficult. It was a difficult decision, I'm sure, because no one knew who KLuke was, but then they tasted it. And then that's all she wrote.
We spent a lot of time going back and forth on it. And originally, we could never we could never tell what the distilleries were going to be because of some NDAs and different things. We're almost going to put the mash bills and the ages. At the end of the day, I told Jennifer, what, it doesn't matter. I want people to buy KLuke because they believe in us, they believe in our palate, they believe in the whiskey, and they believe in what we're doing. Otherwise, people say, well, this has so much of this age or this mash bill. I think it's this whiskey, and I'm going to buy 6 of them and never open them, and that totally for me defeats the purpose of what great bourbon's all about. Yep. And I know the price point's a little on the higher side, but for us to be able to get the age stock we wanted, to be able to have the multi experience of different distilleries, that's what it was going to take. And I wasn't willing to cut corners. It is blended straight, so by law it has to be at least 4 years old. Right. But everything is older than that to be put into the blends. And like I said, it's having that. I go in the mindset of Four Roses small batch LE, right? What does Brent do with that? They take 4 different whiskeys, right? You have different mash bills, different ages, different profiles with their yeast, and you get this super complex, balanced whiskey. And that has been my goal with KLuke since day one. And I was a little nervous about scaling up the batches, kind of going from 4 to, to 8 to 10. But what I found, and what you found tasting this whiskey, is now all of a sudden there's 10 barrels in batch 7. I've got all these different things to play with, right? And I've got, the other thing is people also say, well, obviously Indiana has to be MGP. Well, who says it has to be MGP? There's a lot of stuff in Indiana. I've got a lot of connections up there, a lot of opportunity. So it's really cool. Interesting. From all these different distilleries from all over. So basically our legal kind of definition of what KLuke is. So blended straight, so it's got to be at least 4 years old. The whiskey only come from Kentucky and Indiana. So no other crazy places. For me, those 2 styles of bourbon go really well together. Sure. So I'm just excited about what's on the market. And then, in the back label, it tells you that the high rye, is 36%. So those are kind of our legal things. It's got to be over 4 years old. It's got to be Kentucky and Indiana, and it can't be higher rye than 36%. Rye's got to be a secondary grain. So that's kind of outside of those couple of legal definitions. The palate's wide open for me to as new distilleries come on board and new things. I can incorporate those into KLuke as I see fit. So it's really cool.
I think what's cool about that also is that it does give you a little bit of freedom to have the autonomy to do something different, but it also, like I'm reading Kenny Miller's comment right here, living on the Gulf and having enjoyed multiple barrel placements. John, believe me, you can totally trust his palate. Amy's right below and says, wow, KLuke Batch 6 is great. Just so my point with that is that right now you can be as free as you want to do what you want because you've established a reputation of quality. And that's where you get over that hump of the initial, like, what are people going to think? And it opens the door wide open for you, which is really cool. I was reading this and I thought this was a great compliment because, old Carter, I'm sure the Carters, Mark and Sherry, and what they're doing. Well. Yeah, they're great guys. They're great people. I read a comment that's from someone that said, watch out for KLuke. They are the next old Carter and they're going to be better. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. And that was just, I was like, what a compliment. So, yeah, I mean, your reputation precedes you, but people, they will trust your palate and that gives you the freedom to do some really cool things.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's really neat for us because, if we went with the, mash bill age, then you always have that's going to be the priority, the focus of every batch, right? And it's like, but that's my whole thing right from day one is there's so much more to it than that. And again, and the reason why, just like for you guys, the reason why KLuke shows so well in your blind tasting is we put the same work in. We run it against the best bourbons. I have no interest, and I don't care how expensive or how limited something is. If it comes in dead last multiple times, we pull it out of the blind tasting. We have no interest in, I don't care, again, how expensive or how limited it is. If it's not great for us, speaking of what we enjoy, then we move on to something else because we are trying to put KLuke against the very best bourbons in the market and make sure, again, not to necessarily say that it's better, but the whiskey experience is equal or more exciting in the layers and what you get in the glass. That is our premise behind every batch. So
that's really cool. Well, speaking of, batch 6, we do have batch 6, right?
We do. I just poured a glass of it.
Amy just said, she says great. Nope. So we'll pour the 6 with you.
Batch 6 came out in August. So there's been a total of 7, of course, and 5 have been in 2023. Jonathan, should we expect in 24 5 again, or what is there a schedule for 2024? I know you've already teased some things in other categories that are coming out early in 24. Namely, I think there's another rye that's coming out. There is what do we have here? The 100, is it the 100 proof that's coming out in January?
Right now, we're actually going to go to in February.
For February, okay.
February, we're going to bottle. It'll be batch 8 barrel strength, and then we'll have our next batch of toasted barrel bourbon.
Toasted
then the
barrel
next
bourbon.
will be in May. Will be the next bottling. That'll be batch 9 barrel strength, and then toasted barrel rye. So
Toasted barrel, okay.
I'm trying to get more honed in on next year. There'll be 2 releases of toasted barrel bourbon, 2 releases of toasted barrel rye. So it'll be 6 months in between each toasted barrel bourbon, 6 months between each rye.
Okay.
Like basically quarters. The silver label, the barrel strength, that's kind of our go-to. That's like the number one child here of the brand. That's really the flagship, and
yeah,
I love
I'm
that's something
sorry,
we
go
like to drink, but we're still working a little bit more changes to that in the market. So you probably see that come back at some point next year. There's also only so much time in the days, I found out. So I can taste and blend so much of the time because of all the work and complexity we put into it. So
sure, I'm sure. Real quick on batch 6, I was watching Fred Minnick when he first tried this. He was doing it live, and I loved his reaction to batch 6 because he was sort of blown away on it, and it is so amazingly good. And he's like, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know where, because I know where everybody gets their barrels from. But God, they're doing something right. It was really interesting to see his take on it because, Fred, he drinks a lot of whiskey, and you know that. And he was blown away by batch 6, as I think he should be. It's a fantastic. I get really like a peanut butter brittle and yellow cake, which I absolutely love that sort of note. And some strawberry. It's really, what do you get? Toffee, I get. It's really there's a bit of like almost like, there's sweet oak. I'm looking at my notes from previously, but now drinking, I'm getting more like dark chocolate too. It's so complex. There's so many layers of this, and I think it also changes on you as before, like when we first try this, and then mid bottle, it's opened up a little bit. There's more things that come out, which is interesting.
For me right now in this batch 6, and maybe it's having after 7, I'm getting like this really thick, like caramel cream, almost even flan, like that kind of like rich, kind of caramel toffee type dessert with just mouthfeel and structure and body to it.
Toffee caramel sauce I had, but yes, but I get that. I still get a little bit of like peanut nuttiness to this as well, a little bit like a peanut butter, like a buttery sort of. I don't know if maybe that's just me again. I don't know. So yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's really interesting how So again, it's different. We just tried 7, completely different.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not as sweet. I think this has, which is what I like. I think the spice notes are a bit more prominent on 6, which I like. Finish is really long.
Yeah.
It's another beautiful pour, but a very different pour, which is nice. Like you said, kind of what's your pick your poison. What are you in the mood for?
Mm-hmm.
This is a much different pour than 7. Both of them are really nice. It's hard to compare them apples to apples, to be honest with you.
Well,
and it's pretty exciting to see this batch 6, is made. Fred announced his top 100 whiskey list, and batch 6 is one of our 2 KLuke offerings on there. So, like I said, it was really cool to watch Fred taste it and just say, honestly, I'm pretty speechless, which is, Fred's a man with a lot of words talking about whiskey. So
yeah, right. No doubt about it.
Well, I think if you can put something out to make Todd speechless, then that would be like the best.
That's true. That's the next thing. See if you can not Fred Minnick, Todd Carrick, right?
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go.
There you go. Well, again, what I love about it is, again, it shows you the diversity, sort of how unique each batch is. And that's what makes me want to, I think all of us, when you see KLuke is unveiling a new batch, and listen, we know that people say, oh, I can't get KLuke. Well, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Wyoming, you are on shelves, correct? Is there any plans to be on more shelves as opposed to just in sealbacks and shared pour?
Yeah, so our goal is to, just slowly expand into some markets. But the big thing for me is, as I promised my wife and kids, that I wouldn't overdo it, right? Wouldn't be out on the market too much. So I love to get out on the road and talk to people. I don't really like to launch a new market without me personally being there, physically being on hand, talking about the whiskeys, tasting people. So, it's going to be slow and steady. Again, we can only taste so much. We will never give up our base principles of what KLuke is. To try to put more on the market, it makes no difference to us. It's really about the quality and the excitement. So what you'll be able to count on for sure, is each year having, 4 to 5 barrel strength releases, a couple of releases of toasted barrel bourbon, toasted barrel rye. Then you talked about the Keenan Reserve Cab, which I know your bottle will give to you in time. But
let's talk about that
really
then. Yes.
Cool project.
Oh God, you're gonna make me so upset by showing me that bottle.
So I guess I'll have some.
Let's see it. There it is.
Look at the color on that sheet. So, all right, tell us. So, Keenan Reserve, it's a cab, and you're friends. Good Lord Almighty, you're friends with the I guess Michael Keenan, right?
So Michael Keenan is, is a great winemaker, vineyard owner, really small production up on Spring Mountain. I've known Michael for, I don't know, we were talking about, we just had a couple events in the last few days together. We did a really nice dinner at an Italian restaurant over in Louisiana, a multi-course wine dinner. We did eat whiskey at the end, and then we did kind of a more casual event here on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi.
I saw that food on your Instagram. It looked quite tasty. That food on your Instagram looked great.
It was spot on, and I told the chef there at that dinner, I said, what's really exciting is both the owner and the chef, I said, you guys really get it. You're not trying to overcomplicate the dishes, and you just like a blender, a chef, same thing, right? You want to have all these layers, but not trying to have one thing stand out or overdo it. And the food is perfectly balanced, perfectly executed with the wine pairings. And then we got to debut the whiskey. So they didn't even tell people we were going to pour the bourbon at the end.
Oh, wow.
They just kind of introduced me and threw it in there. So that was really neat to see a room full of wine people that had no idea what they're getting into, sit and have some 100, almost 22 proof bourbon.
That's awesome.
So is this the first finished KLuke that's on? I mean, I know toasted, but like a non-toasted finish?
It is. So I created this small batch blend. We went through a series blend, same way we do with everything else, Kentucky, Indiana. And then we actually blended just very small amount of wine into the whiskey because, what do we think this is going to taste like 3, 6, 9, 12 months down the road? And it was really cool. So Michael Keenan, again, I've known him for probably 15 years. We've been out to the winery a couple times. Both of the kids, Caitlin and Lucas, have large format bottles of wine. Michael. So we are definitely a fan of what he's doing wine-wise. A beautiful property that his dad started almost 50 years ago. And, when I reached out to Michael, told him I had this idea, I wanted to lay down a whiskey in his reserve cab barrels. He said, I think that sounds great. Whatever you need to do. And, he let us use the name and the kind of resemblance of his name right into ours. And never had a question about it. Never doubted that it would turn out to be a great product.
Put that back. Yeah, there you go. Nice.
It's pretty incredible to see. We have the reserve up here across the corner, just like he does in the wines.
Dark that is.
Yeah, it is. I can't wait for you to taste it when you get your bottle in a couple days.
Yeah, we're disappointed right here tonight. But tell me again, Jonathan, how long did it rest in the cab?
So a year. We did a full year throughout the process, but we really felt it a year. There's a lot of finished products out there that you get so much of the finish, you lose the core whiskey. So I didn't want that to happen. And I knew, being a big reserve, mountain fruit cab, we needed a big kind of broad-shouldered whiskey. So I specifically designed a whiskey batch that I felt would hold up to this wine barrel aging. And I wasn't sure how long we were going to go. If you read the back label, it says over 6 months. So I knew it was going to be somewhere between 6 months and a year. And this particular batch, we felt it a year is right where it really kind of showed best. The other thing that was really cool, just like the wines, Michael let me buy half French oak barrels and half American oak barrels, just like the aged wine in. So I got tasted independently, created the batch, put it into the wine barrels, and then those tasted different. So then we reblended those back together to create this batch. The only downside is I only blended 5 whiskey barrels into 4 wine barrels. So we only got a little over 800 bottles.
840 bottles is the available one.
There's 839.
Well, eventually, yes. And I think it's probably selling pretty quickly on sealbacks right now. So, guys, I'm telling you, I wish I had it to tell you. I'll have a review up tomorrow.
I'm not even worried. I know this is going to be good. And look, I'm telling you, I've seen some wine finished whiskeys that didn't work, but when they're done right, they're awesome. They're really, really good. So again, trusting the palate, trusting the people behind the label. Like, we're stoked about this and think it's going to be fantastic. Got to ask you, if this goes as well as it probably will, any chance you might toss in an Italian wine finish one? I mean, Amarone or something like that?
I may or may not have already spoke to a Italian winemaker I know. But
yes, there it is. You know it.
Long wine background, so I've got connections all over the world. So there's some really cool opportunities for us to really do some special things.
That's exciting.
That's cool.
It's not about trying to have more releases. It's about what do we think is something that kind of speaks to us, and then doing it right. Is trying to find the right balance of whiskey. Taste it often, and just find where that sweet spot is, right? Where you like in this one, you still get the caramel and toffee, and you get the spiciness to it, but then you get like this dark fruit kind of custard, just baked fruit tart thing going on in this Keenan. I can't wait for you guys to get into it.
So Jonathan, in the cab, is it then, if it's aged a year, is it batch? Is it like a separate blend than what's in one of the barrel strength batches, or is it its own blend, or is it similar to one of the previous batches as the base?
It's completely independent blend, because again, I needed something big.
Yep.
To stand up to those long barrels. And again, we actually blended some of his wine in the process throughout the blends, because I needed to try to, it's tough to mimic a year down the road, what you think is going to happen, or 6 months. But I had to get as close as I could. We even let it oxidize, because I wanted to see, obviously, the whiskey gets hot and cold throughout the seasons there at BBC. I knew there's going to be oxidation in there. So I tried to mimic the best I could to what I anticipated the final product would be like. In our blends before we come up with the final blend. So,
well, there you go. So
awesome.
right now,
Matt just said, "Don't hesitate. The Keenan finish is the best finished bourbon I've ever had." Which is really cool.
Oh, I can't wait. And I think other people are jumping on batch 7 too, which is great, because that needs to be sold
just
out
bought
soon.
One. Copper Wolf just said got one. So people are grabbing them, which is great. We're excited about that.
I'm telling you, if you are a fan of their previous releases, it's different, but you're gonna love it in the same way. And that's the trust we have in you now, Jonathan. We've put it in you, and there's a high bar, but I think you're gonna be okay with it.
There it is. So
that's my batch 7. So not finished on batch 7. We also released our first finished product though, along with batch 7, which is our KLuke Keenan Reserve Cab finished. And as of right now, Sealbox still has both the cab finish and batch 7 in stock. Fortunately for this podcast, they just released these like 2 days ago. So normally by the time I get to do a podcast with somebody, even though we try to schedule right after release,
they're gone. Yeah.
We sold out. Blake's been putting a little pressure on me also to send him more. So we've been trying to continuously up the par going to him. I don't know if you guys have met Brian that does his reviews, but Brian's awesome. Blake has really put together a great team of people there.
For sure. So. Yeah, he sent us. Yeah, he was great into the 7. Unfortunately, shipping didn't help with the Keenan Reserve, but it also is, if you can only get like shared pour as well, has your batch 7 too. I saw that. So
they have a few bottles left. I think we went into this podcast, we were down to the last 6 or 7 bottles.
All right, there you go. So there's your 2 options.
We might sell those out tonight. We've already got 2 going tonight, which is good. So
Jay just brought KLuke on there for us over at Shared Pour as well. And then, like you said, you can find our products, on the shelves, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, and then we just recently expanded to Kentucky and to Wyoming. There's one store in Wyoming that a guy flew down to meet me, loved what we're doing. He said, "You're coming to Wyoming." I was like, I don't think we are. And a week later, he talked me into it, and we were off to Wyoming. So there's a store there called Country Lane Liquor in Pinedale, Wyoming, that exclusively carries our product right now up there in Wyoming.
That's awesome.
I'm not sure we have anybody watching from Wyoming.
Well,
but if
we do, but what you know what, Jonathan, I think you're right. You don't need to expand everywhere, because what you're doing is working. You told that to the wife and kids, but you should have one East Coast spot.
You really should.
I'm thinking Maryland might be the hot
the
spot
DMV
for
is
you.
pretty good for
We're
us.
right there in the Mason-Dixon line. We can
right
accommodate
there.
the north and the south. Just throwing it out there.
You're already at Silbacks and Cherpur, which is in DC. I know.
We would love to try to get, so really our goal is trying to get to a few different places where people can get to what we're doing. We've been really fortunate to get to work with Blake over at Sealbox, and now working with Jay at Shared Pour to be able to reach some more places.
Jay's great too.
I would love to be in a few more markets, and that'll be coming next year as well. It's been really exciting for us the first 18 months just to see how much love and belief there is in us and the brand. And, people just really being excited. I caught a post today. Someone said, as far as I'm concerned, moving forward, KLuke is a must buy every release, every batch that comes out, because just like you said, they're all different. They're all unique, and they're going to offer you something different, exciting behind your bar. And that's the goal. And that's what we continue to strive to do as we grow this brand and create new batches. So.
Question for you, Jonathan. I looked when you go to your website. I do see, and I wasn't privy to this, but maybe this was local release. You released like 2 single barrel 15-year-old bourbons. What were they? When did that happen? Is this something locally? You just got some 2 honey barrels that were really old in stock, and I know there wasn't many. I think there were 72 bottles and 114. That was something locally you did, I assume, or no?
Yeah.
Am I wrong on that?
We had an opportunity to taste through a set of 15-year-old barrels. We love these 2 barrels, and I wanted to get the weights kind of project, what the yields would be. We kind of had to just go for it or not, and So we bought those first two, and we were live at Bardstown for the bottling, and the first barrel comes out and it gets above the yield, we need to be to break even. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. Then they bottled the second one, and I was going to be fired day one right there off the bat.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, one of the barrels was just in my shop at Maisano's, and then the other one was in Mississippi. But again, just being just over and just under 100 bottles, there wasn't a whole lot of either one of those. Again, we were just two special barrels. Everybody wants me to do single barrel releases, but the whole idea of KLuke is really these special blends. Yeah. Now we will do single barrels. We'll probably keep everything in double-digit age. We'll have some single barrels coming out. Something I really think is outstanding that fits its own. But those are kind of be few and far between. You'll probably more likely see some single barrels of batch products like toasted barrel bourbon or rye, whereas we create the put in the barrels, and then when we taste them, they're ready. Maybe we let somebody taste a set of those and buy one because again, they have independent flavors after those couple months of toasted barrel.
So you're saying there's a chance, Jonathan. You're saying there's a chance. That's what you're saying.
So question for you, since we've been doing all this bourbon talks. Two-part question. One, if you're not drinking bourbon, what's your go-to wine?
Oh,
I gotta know.
So man, we've so here in my room, you see the whiskey behind me. The other side that you can't see is a wine cellar. So
nice.
We probably still drink more wine at home than bourbon. We sit and have wine with dinner. Almost had wine tonight. I thought, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to the podcast talking about whiskey. You can't talk about wine.
No, you're fine.
But what I love about wine is one, all of our wine is cellared, so we're not really drinking current vintage of anything. We're really drinking, something that's a couple years old. It's really a time to kind of develop in the bottle. But for me, it's what are we having for food? I mean, it all goes hand in hand. We love Pinot Noir by itself. If we're going to go with food, we drink more, I would say, domestic than imports. I love Barolos and big Italian wines. You said Amarone, but really for me, there's more about a specific meal to go with it. If we're doing lasagna or some sort of Italian, maybe big beef or pork dish. We drink a lot of Pinot Noir because we can just sit and drink it. After kids go to bed and want to just sit, relax, have a glass of wine. You don't have to have food with it. But it's pretty. I've some old German Riesling in here. Back to these that is drinking just great. It's really more about what we're excited about, what we're in the mood for. So
very cool. I like that. All right, so you're drinking wine or whiskey. What are you listening to? Give me your what's going to be on the and what's your job? You said you're a classic rock guy, so right? Who are you listening to while you're sipping on something good?
For me, usually I'll just put a live stream where to have again just a well diversified song list of a playlist of different things. Because then I think if you just like streaming a classic rock station, I kind of get a little bit of everything, right? You kind of get a wider realm, of maybe Pearl Jam, Doors, and there's some Def Leppard in there and Metallica.
Oh, there you go.
You have a whole wide range of music. It's again important part of relaxing, right? We got to have a glass of wine or some whiskey and throw some music on, and
all right. Let's ask it this way, though.
Yeah,
I think
no, we gave you the safe way. We gave you a chance to be safe. Now we're gonna have to make it tougher for you.
Yep.
So you're stuck on a deserted desert island. You can bring 3 albums with you, 3 artists. Who's coming with you?
Oh, did he freeze?
Did we freeze?
We're freezing. Oh no!
The music got him.
The music got him. He's frozen. I can hear it in the background, like he's.
Oh man, he's frozen. Yeah, I'm losing you a little bit here. It's breaking up all of a sudden.
That's all right. You're coming back. You're coming back.
The music question.
It's the music question threw him off.
Man, I don't know. That's a tough question. It'd be hard to be locked into just 3 albums instead of kind of a well-versed playlist.
Yes.
I don't know.
This is meant to be hard, Jonathan. This is meant to be tough.
All right. Let me ask you. Here's another question. Then. How about this? So, Jonathan. We asked this question to a lot of our guests. How about this? What is one concert that you have not been to that you wish you had attended or seen, or artists you've seen that you haven't seen? Like for me, it's Queen. I would have loved to see Freddie Mercury, Queen in their heyday. Andy, it's probably Def Leppard with Steve Clark as their guitar player, right?
I would like to see that. Yes.
What is it? Is there certain artists that maybe you haven't seen? It could be any genre of music that you would have loved to see live, because we love live music as well.
I tell you, I'd love to see live that's out there right now is Pearl Jam. I know they were in Kentucky. It was at Fred's Festival. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but I'd love to go see those guys.
Yeah, I know. I've never seen Pearl Jam live either.
We were supposed to go when they came to Baltimore. My wife wanted to go, and for whatever reason, we couldn't make it. But yeah, I hear they're fantastic.
And they're now considered classic rock, which is kind of crazy,
well,
right? That is classic
early
rock.
90s is classic rock.
Blending and then go see Pearl Jam, and we can work that into a work trip.
Well, Andy, let's do that. That's
I guess, look, I like Pearl. As long as it wasn't Nirvana, I'm fine.
Yeah, Andy does not like Nirvana because Nirvana killed his style of music that he loves so much.
That's not true. I just don't like Nirvana's
music.
True.
That is true.
I'm just being honest, but that's all right. No big deal.
All right, we're sipping on batch 5 now,
Batch
Jonathan.
5. I know I just got to. I forgot how much I liked it.
So
batch 5.
Yeah. So real quick though, Jonathan, while you do that, Dusty Dan, who is a big fan of ours, he lives locally, got a great channel. He recently did a blind of 4, 5, and 6 on his live stream, and 6 won for him over 4, which he thought for sure would win. I think that shows you, 1, it depends on what mood you're in, and 2, how unique all of these are. And they're all really well done.
So for me, I got to do a seminar in Baton Rouge, for a whiskey charity event. I guess maybe about 2 months ago. And I did a seminar, and there's probably 50 people in there, and we poured earlier batches that I knew people in there hadn't had a chance to try, and it was split, a third, and a third. Who liked batch 1? Who liked batch 2? Who liked batch 3? And for me, that is one of the most exciting things, because it shows. There's no one-hit wonder, right? There's no one batch that over-dominates how excited people are compared to the other ones.
Right.
For me, that was a really cool thing to see, because, the table in front of me said, we like, maybe softer. We really like batch 3. And then this table said, no, I love batch 1 because I like to drink, Booker's or this or that. And I think that's really important, because it shows the consistency and the depth of what we're doing, which is what is the most important thing to us in our blending. Is that consistent whiskey experience. So
batch 4, 5 to me is extremely viscous. They all are very viscous, but it's rich and dark. There's brown sugars. There's a vanilla, extract to it. I really, really enjoy this one. The spice and black pepper are on the finish as well. I think all of your finishes, that's the one great thing. There is a nice medium to long finish, no matter what batch you're on. That's a nice spice. It just lingers and says, okay, let's get ready for the next, sip of that whiskey, which I love. Super, super, super cool.
Yeah, again, that's part of that's when we want to sit down and pour whiskey. That's exactly what we want. Why would we expect anything different of our friends and customers? They're going to sit down and drink KLuke.
Yeah,
I have no intention of sacrificing when I'm going to sit down and have a pour, whether it's wine or whiskey or a cigar or food, really, for that matter, if I can help it.
Yeah.
So we certainly don't expect anyone else to, right? If I always tell people, if say KLuke batch 5, was the last whiskey I got to drink, that's my mentality, right? I've got to be just as proud and excited. If this is the very last drink in that desert island, then if I didn't blend it that way, why would I expect you to go home and be excited?
Yeah, right.
Outperform your favorites, So
I love 5.
Right?
Really
it's
do.
Crazy. So
this
we have to do a blind on our live stream, Jonathan. We will do a blind of this as we maybe get one more, or can find batch 4 again. I'd love to do 4, 5, 6, and 7. My head says I love 7 because it's just brand new, but now I'm drinking through 6. Oh, I love that for this reason. And 5, I love. And then we used to have 4.
Progression. It's so very different, which each one, which I really like.
Well, it's what Jonathan said in the very beginning of this. Yep. Kind of what mood you're in that night, I think, is going to speak to you as to what you'd pick out. And there is a poll on our YouTube stream, which is, what is your favorite KLuke batch? Batch 7, 6, 5, or 4? Guys, let's get some votes on there, because right now it's 29% for batch 7. So there's been people out there that have had batch 7, 22% for batch 6, 24% for batch 5, and 24% for batch 4. So that shows you it's like almost equal.
I mean, I'm being very transparent. I forgot how much I liked batch 5.
Right. I agree with you.
As soon as I sipped, I was like, wow,
and I drank dynamite. The least of this one too. It's ridiculous.
That's dynamite. Well, I got a bottle sitting at home.
I know, right?
It's just, yeah,
it's great.
It also shows going back and revisiting things is great, because sometimes you get caught up in, what did I grab? What's the latest one I grabbed? Everyone's whiskey collection, they've got like half the bottle left because they drink it, then they go into something else, and they leave the other half because they're afraid to get too low. Yeah, so it's going back and revisiting.
Not for batch 4 for us. We drank all that.
Batch 4 is gone.
We drank all that really quick, John. We only got one bottle between both of us. Usually now we each buy one, right? So it was like, oh crap. When we realized what we have, do you realize what we've done? We drank the whole thing, and we're like, we don't have any more to compare it because you were putting out all these blends. We're like, oh crap. Well, we can't do that blind because we were searching for a batch. Remember we were searching for a batch 4? We're like,
yeah.
Oh, you must have it. I was like, Andy, you must have it in your stash. He's like, nope, I don't.
I knew I had a bunch. I was like, which one did I drink the entire thing? Which one didn't I? And so we thought we had it. We didn't. But
there's memories, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's all good. It's all good. That's fine because batch 7 comes out and I forget about batch 4. And that's the great thing. That's the great thing. So let me ask you this, Jonathan. So we've gone through it. I love rye whiskey. It's did you find? I know you're not putting out as much. I mean, your bread and butter is these batch proof. You said there's going to be 2 toasted ryes each year. Then going forward, I love that. Are you going to have the same sort of thing where each expression will try to be unique and different from the previous? So there's not the same sort of consistency. You want something different, right?
Yeah. So actually, you'll see in our next batch of rye, we are going to have. It's going to be a blend of Kentucky and Indiana. So I've been working to find the right Kentucky producer, the right age, and what I was looking for flavor wise, where I thought it would add something to the Indiana rye and not take away and not overpower it. And I finally found it. So we are pretty excited that we're going to be able to have those two things together in the next one. So for me, the toasted barrels, it's really about trying to find that balance. A lot of times toasted whiskeys are really heavy on the toast, where it overpowers the rest of the blend. Which again, we don't want to do. Our whole thing is about the balance. And that's the same thing with these toasted products. We want to have the toasted notes there, but not overpower it. You still want to get some floral and spice and delicate notes. For me, I've got to be in the mood for rye. I'm not going to gravitate toward it like I do bourbon, right? Like I've got to be in the mood to want to sit and pour rye.
No, not me, Jonathan. Come on, not me.
This rye is.
I love rye whiskey.
Now you're in Mississippi. We're Maryland boys. Rye is big in Maryland. That we were up there playing with the big boys in Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Maryland before Prohibition. So we were a rye whiskey state. And in fact, what Joe Graves just said, any chance of a batch rye out of Maryland?
Well, hey, you never know. He's not going to disclose that because it's. But you never know.
We would have to have a label change to.
That's true. You would have to have a label change. That's true. So you would know.
We have some connections here if you ever want to call us. Yeah, just let us know.
I say that you notice, on the rye, that's laser printed on there for where it's from, for where it's distilled in. So it does leave us a little open there to have a little flexibility.
It does. All right, there you go.
Well, I will tell you, I absolutely love this pour.
Yes, I don't think you've had it because I only bought this. I don't think you've tried this.
No, I've had this.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, and I absolutely love this pour. Either I've had it here or had a bottle of home. I can't keep track of everything I have. I love this.
You've got a problem, Andy.
It's called a passion, not a problem.
So I get a lot of orange on the nose for this. Honey, orange, and like. Definitely the baking, but I get orange jam, and it's a classic sort of rye. I mean, I'm not saying it's MGP. I'm just saying I get a lot of that sort of orangey, and then on the palate.
Go get them, Tiger.
Beautiful orange blossom thing going on in this.
Oh man, there is also a little bit of mint in that as well. The chocolate, the toasted vanilla, oak, baking. I mean, that's a rye right there. I love everything about that.
He's a happy little fellow.
And it's 116.8 proof. I think it drinks lower than that, which is crazy. Super oily and viscous. I mean, really viscous. That's a rye right there. That's a toasted rye. So you're going to do all your ryes toasted, I assume. That's what's going to happen. They'll come out toasted.
I think so. I just
cuts through a little bit.
Trying to put my spin on doing something a little different with the rye.
Yeah.
It's trying to have that toasted barrel accent, that pretty floral, citrus tones, and not overpower it. A lot of times, I think about the toasted barrel, people let them go so long where you get so much toasted wood in your face that's like, I can't really tell what the base spirit is. What's going on? I can't really tell. Like, you lose all those delicate notes. And rye doesn't have to be big in your face baking spices. It can be, a little on the prettier side and more delicate, and that's what our goals with this blend.
Yeah, I get baking spice a little bit in the finish. That's about it for the baking spices. I get that orange. I get like a toasted sort of vanilla. The sweet oak is there. I even get a malty chocolate a little bit, like a chocolate mint a little bit too up front. It's faint, but and then the baking spice is the finish. It's just really viscous. This was released when, Jonathan? Earlier this year, I think 7/18 was when it was approved. Okay, so yeah, I drank this of this. Yeah, I forgot. I hate to tell you, Jonathan, I kind of forgot I had this in there. It gets. I'm like a monkey, a rabbit. I get the next one and I'm on to the next thing. It's ridiculous.
He is like JoJo the Circus Boy.
I
am. He
am
gets real excited real fast.
So I'm glad I pulled it, and now it's probably going to be. Now that I know you're doing 2 a year, I can just go hog wild on these things.
I do have some exciting news about this that I have not had a chance to share in the last couple of days. So this batch 2 Toast Barrel Rye that came out in July this year just won double gold in Barley Corn Awards. So the first time I submitted the rye into anything, we submitted. I figured, well, we'll just submit one contest. We won double gold. So I
love it. So this isn't available anymore. It's gone though, right? It's not available anywhere. I don't think. Yeah, it's gone. Right.
God, you guys, you're gonna get tired of being like Charlie Sheen, winning like all this. I mean, you guys doing it. I mean,
winning.
You gotta love it. It's got to feel good too, though. You do put yourself out there and take a chance when you do something like this, and you've been really well received and well deserved. I would say that. I think everything we've had from KLuke has been outstanding. But
well, Jonathan, let me ask you this: when you started this 18 months ago, did you ever dream in your wildest dream? No, you did, and that's great. That you would blow up this fast. I mean, in the whiskey world, and maybe we're just because we're in Whiskey Tube, and your brand is blown up this year. Did you expect it to be this quick?
Like you said, a lot of brands out there, right? There's a lot of celebrity endorsed brands. There's a lot of a lot of big money behind brands. And for me, it was like, well, we're gonna put it all on the line with our palates, our passion, and what we believe in.
I love that.
And either people are excited and along for the ride, or they're not. And all we can do is put it all out there. Put everything into every blend, and it has been really exciting to see how well received we are. In the beginning, I hadn't really thought about like the online sales, like working with someone like Blake or Jay, to be able to reach pretty much close to nationwide now. And, to see someone like Uproxx, pick it up on their own, like I said, Batch 7's only been out for 2 weeks in the market, and to get a hold of the bottle, rate it, put us in the top.
That must have been very late in the edit game, because they had their list pretty much set, and they got that and said, let's not just put in there. Let's put it in like the top 30. Like that's great. That was really cool. And I agree, man. It's going to make our top 10 probably. Well, one of these is. Can we put all of them in there? I don't know. Maybe we can, Andy. I don't know.
You said that before. We can do what we want.
We can do whatever we want. It's our channel, right?
Look, it's.
I love it.
I wouldn't be disappointed putting any of these in. I think that's the point. I think that you're consistent and they're good. And again, we love doing this because we also like to give people a glimpse into who's behind the bottle.
Well, you say people before bottle, right? You always say that, right?
Products before people. You always buy people before product.
People before product. Yeah.
People before product, because it's true. I like, if I'm going to sit down and have a pour of something, whether it's a wine. You talked about Michael Keenan. Like if you know somebody and you know the blood, sweat, and tears that goes behind what they're doing, and the story is good, it makes you enjoy it all that much more.
Yeah.
And I'm not to take anything away from the big boys, because they all started small and got big for a reason, right? So I don't want to take anything away from them. But it is nice to celebrate people who are coming into the industry and doing something like this on a small scale and just reaching this massive appeal of an audience, which is really cool. And you guys are doing a great job. I really appreciate it. And everybody who's been watching has been applauding too. Whoever in this chat has said something, has said nothing but good stuff like this, has been great. And I'll be telling you, our viewers are honest. If they don't like something, they are a little. They almost too honest at times.
There'd be crickets. There'd be crickets.
But Jody just said from Bourbon Valley, if you make good juice, we'll celebrate you, and that's the truth. I mean, I think that's what happens. Yeah.
We for me, like I said, these guys in Kentucky. And another place I've been to, Indiana and Virginia. I mean, all these guys have been super willing to teach me about bourbon, teach me about what makes their distillery unique. And, every master distiller I've met has been just welcoming. And, they're like, if you ever have a question, reach out. If a customer needs something, to reach out, and it's really been exciting. And when I announced we were going to do KLuke, kind of branch out on our own instead of just picking barrels from other places, everyone has been just as welcoming. What can they do?
That's great.
And it's been really exciting to see. Every master distiller I know is just like me and you. They just love having a good time and sharing great whiskey with their family and friends. And no matter how big those companies have gotten, the master distillers, the main people behind the brand, they're just as humble as when I first started up there 11 years ago as they are today. So it's
What's
pretty
crazy.
cool experience.
I mean, Jonathan, we started this channel as home brewers. So we got we cut our teeth sort of doing this as just brewing beer, home brewing. And we said, let's do some videos. And we did that for a while. And we said, let's drink let's review some commercial beers. We had these barrel-aged beers, and these barrel-aged beers, we loved what was it doing. And we said, well, let's find out why we love these barrel-aged beers so much. And then we started reviewing bourbon. And that's kind of like how we are now, doing more, we say, with beer, bourbon, and rock and roll. But we do a lot of bourbon now, and we still do beer. But again, I think about like where you've come from. It's amazing that, like, I find it truly amazing. Like, I feel like Jonathan's one of us. That's what I don't know. I do. I mean, it's really cool, and there's hope for us all, Andy. That's what I'm saying, I guess, here.
So you're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance. Jonathan, have you talked to somebody like Nancy Fraley, who is she is like the nose Fraley? I mean, have you ever talked to her about like sort of what she does? Or
I have not yet, but I've got I know some people that do some consulting work with her. I'm going to get a chance to meet her hopefully early next year.
Oh, please do.
I think Nancy is one of the most awesome people to follow her story, see what she's done in the world of whiskey, her passion and how she builds blends. Definitely someone I look up to. I have not had a chance to meet. But I love what she's done in the world of whiskey the last, decade or two.
Yeah, we love her too.
We've been very privileged to
get to know her well.
Get to know Nancy pretty well over the past year.
She would love Jonathan.
She actually helped us with our first picks. Told us kind of like where to go. And so I was like, you may want to hit, because she has a memory like you could
facing
not
this
believe.
On this side, and she says, go to these barrels. And we said, Andy's like, Andy, here to go.
She knows every barrel, where it's located, what floor, what level, what rick house. And so when I went out there, she kind of gave me a little roadmap, a mental roadmap, and we found a honey barrel. It was great. Yeah,
it's great.
It's sometimes
just like someone like Nancy, right? They're so excited to share their knowledge with all the rest of us, and that's what I found at every distillery. I figure, I probably tasted 1,500 or 1,600 barrels now, straight from the barrel. To spend an afternoon walking a rickhouse with someone like Eddie Russell, or sit there with Brent, in front of all 10 recipes and taste through them, and it's just something really special about that. And even younger people in the game, someone like Alan Bishop in Spirits French Lit, just a brilliant guy who doesn't hold back what he believes in. It's really incredible. The list goes on and on. People I've been fortunate enough to meet. I see Women of Whiskey on there. Someone like Andrea from Michter's, who I met early on when she started there, and my wife and I got to have dinner with her and her husband, last summer, and just everyone's so welcoming to, let's make bourbon, something special here in the United States, and let's make it something people can really be excited about and really be proud to call this our home product. So,
right, I love that. Well, let me ask you a question, because we are beer, bourbon, and rock and roll. We've talked a little rock and roll with you. We've talked a little bourbon with you. Let's go beer. 2-part question. All right. If you're going to sit down, I'm not sure if you're a beer guy or not. If you're going to sit down and have a beer, what's your go-to beer? And then 2, I'm telling you, if again, kind of like wine, if done right, a good stout finished whiskey is phenomenal.
Yes,
Any chance or thoughts of putting, if you're going to do another finish, possibly a stout finish?
A rye and that stout finish? Oh, man.
Just, throw it out to you.
It's not something I've worked with, but I've had some local brewers here on the Gulf Coast to actually get some of my hand-set barrels over the years and put beer in them. I'm not a huge beverage fan, I don't drink a lot of champagne or try not to drink too much soft drinks or beer, but I've had some really incredible beers. And again, it's finding that balance, right? Where that balanced, well-made beer isn't overwhelmed by the bourbon barrel, but it accents and just adds that complexity and richness to it. We've got some really cool local brewers doing that with barrels, and it's really neat to see what they put in them, what comes out, and how it kind of elevates that beer to another level.
Yeah, for sure.
So, my goal in the future is really to be able to have some fun with this, really kind of, just follow different avenues, right? There's so much neat stuff out there that you can do, that kind of collaboration back and forth between these different barrels and finishes. And, it's really exciting. And now that we're a little bit farther into this, we've got a few blends under our belt. People believe in us. It just kind of opens up the doors to do more fun things.
Absolutely.
More casks. And I think hopefully at this point, just like this Keenan Reserve, as people start to get a chance to try it again when we just come out in the market, you see that we put the same attention to detail in there. We didn't just throw, whatever random barrels of whiskey into a finished barrel and say, well, let's just see what happens. We really try to put a lot of methodical thought into how do we get from point A to point B, and what's that journey in between?
Yeah.
Yes, who knows the future holds on the barrel side.
Well, that was my sort of wrapping up. Like, what does the future hold for KLuke? I mean, you kind of exploded onto the scene here now in 2024. The world's the limit here. I mean, I mean, again, you're going to keep cranking out these batch proofs, 2 rye, 2 toasted bourbons, finished now. I mean, it's really now expanding. I guess you're hoping to continue the great juice, and then see what you can do with, I guess, special, sort of finishes. Is that what we're going to see here? Or
yeah,
what?
you'll see. I mean, not an overwhelming amount. Like, I don't want to have 1,000, but you will see, I think, a couple. Maybe not next year, but maybe the year after. Maybe you'll see 3 or 4, different finishes a year. Different, some different wine casks, maybe some different, different profiles. I mean, all my local guys that I smoke cigars with want me to do something in the cigar realm, of a couple different finishes blended together.
Okay.
It's like you said, it's just really about finding the time and doing it proper and doing it right and having the passion behind it. So
there you go.
It's going to be exciting. The way I kind of looked at it with KLuke releases, being 4 or 5 a year with the barrel strength. If you think about in the last 2 years, right, quality stores, single barrels have gotten much harder to come by.
Yeah.
Just from my own in the retail side, I picked 95 barrels last year, only picked 6 this year. So
how many you did what?
95 barrels last year, only picked 6 this year. So
6. Wow.
There's a lot of shift in market to people going to samples and not picking barrels at the distilleries. Just kind of. Matt, I agree with you. Doing something with Nancy Frayley would be awesome down the road.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, we can make that happen. We'll have to.
Oh, you have that power, do you? You wave your wand.
Well, no, I'm just saying we can give Jonathan and Nancy both. We can connect that. We could do that. I'm just saying.
Todd's pretty magical.
I'm not magical. I'm a bald 47-year-old man that likes.
That leads me right into my next question.
What's that?
Okay. So if there is going to be a documentary and they're going to do the KLuke story, what actor is playing Jonathan Maisano? Who's going to be you in the movie, the KLuke movie, a true story? Like, we know Todd's going to either be like Powder or like
I was thinking more like Bruce
Scott
Willis.
Van Pelt, or you're nothing like
Bruce Willis, maybe?
No, not even close.
No.
So we know that
Scott Van Pelt for sure. Scott Van Pelt for sure.
So I don't know myself, but here's one more little bit of family history on the other side of my family. So my mom's side now. So my grandfather was Cary Grant stand-in.
Cary Grant, yes.
Grew up on the East Coast. He was going out west, an engineer, and along his travels, getting out to the West Coast. Someone said, you look an awful lot like Cary Grant, and they're having stand-in auditions. You should go try out.
No way. Yeah, yep.
So he went and tried out, and he was worked in his place in movies for 4 years. And my grandfather always wondered, did he make the right choice? And at his funeral, my uncle was telling the story about how one day he ran into someone and told him, he was going out for this engineering job, and always wondered if he made the right choice and his life decision, right, to be an actor instead of being an engineer. And the guy said, it's funny. Somebody so-and-so worked for that same engineering company, and they went belly up, within the year of when he would have been out there, for this job. So kind of neat for him that he made the right choice,
Yes.
And, we got all these signed pictures from Clark Gable, and
that's great. That's awesome.
So
who would play you, Andy?
Play myself, but a little more family history on my
Cary Grant,
my mother's side.
That's awesome.
Who would play you?
Who would play me?
Yeah, Anthony Santander. The Baltimore Orioles.
I could take Santander.
My Nicholas actually thinks he's you.
Anthony Santander.
Is that Mr. Andy?
I'll take it. I'll take it. I wish I could swing like Santander.
He's from the Dominican Republic, but that's okay.
That's awesome. No, it's I had a guy at work, which is kind of funny. The day I was on a meeting, but I had to take it from my car, so I was dropping my son off.
Yeah.
I had my sunglasses on because it was really sitting right in my face.
Yeah.
The guy goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You got that Rip from Yellowstone look." And I don't know if you've ever seen Rip.
I've seen Yellowstone. I don't know who the character that is.
So I'll take it. That's
no,
fine. It's better than Scott Van Pelt.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan, we have real quick before we leave. The chat has said they guys, changing.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Women of Whiskey. That's so great. They're going live tonight, guys. Or no, tomorrow night. Tomorrow night at 11 p.m.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to give you a thank you, Women of Whiskey. And
there you go.
There's intent behind this, by the way.
What's that?
Oh, you'll see. Hold on. Ready?
Yeah.
I got a quarterback option with elite sauce.
Elite sauce? That's me. I'm elite.
Joe Flacco, elite. Are you a big sports fan, Jonathan? Do you like sports football? You're an SEC country. You a Mississippi fan? What do we got?
Obviously being down here on the Gulf Coast, we protein wise, we don't have a whole lot of options. So Saints is our go-to football team.
All right.
I grew up in Reno actually originally before I moved down here. So growing up as a kid, and Oakland A's was kind of my home team for a sports team growing up. Watching Canseco, McGuire, and those guys. So that was kind of my go-to as a kid was baseball. So.
Are they going to be in Oakland much longer?
No, they're going to LA. They're going to LA.
Is it finalized?
It's happening, I think, after next year.
After next year.
Yeah. Jeez. Well, the interesting thing here, and it's batch 7, 6, 5, and 4. There's no deviation between 20 and 30%. And I think that's actually a testament, Jonathan, to what you're doing. Like that's the perfect result. You don't have one that's like, oh, everyone's saying this is it. And batch 7 just came out, so that's great too. And it's leading at 30%. But I think that's a really cool thing that it's so close between the 4 batches. Usually when we do these, there's always a clear winner. There wasn't here, and I think that's kind of what you're going for.
Yeah, it's really something that obviously we want people to be excited, and again, that kind of back to that whiskey experience thing. But this is also something that if kids want to get into, if Caitlin or Lucas want to get into, we want to build a brand that they can be proud of and really be excited for what we created with the brand. Obviously we laid down a lot of wine for the kids, a lot of whiskey, especially.
Nice.
Our daughter Caitlin says she has no interest. She's going to get a real job. I'm like, well, Caitlin, there's plenty of degrees you can get to go along with this.
Exactly. She could get a business degree and run the business.
Be great for that, because I also have an 11 and a 5-year-old, very similar like you do. Yeah. And my 11-year-old goes, Daddy, when I'm 21, can I start having all this whiskey with you? And I was like, probably not. Yes, no, maybe. I don't know what to tell you right now. You're too young to be having this conversation. So
my youngest son, who's 7, likes to nose the whiskey and beers. He likes to smell whiskey and beer. Is that bad that I let him do that? I don't think so.
Yeah, well, he's not drinking. He's smelling it. That's fine.
Fred was telling me he has his kids blind taste candy. I was like, that is such a brilliant.
That is a brilliant idea to test their palate of what they can they really tell Twix? They're all Twix.
They're all Twix.
You got to start on palate development.
I love that.
What flavor?
I might do that on a next live stream for Todd. I might put some candy up blind.
I would kill that blind for sure.
You think you would?
I know a Twix. I know I know a Snickers.
I may not just put that in there.
I will kill that blind.
You got to make it complicated.
That's right.
But Lucas told Jennifer the other day that he wasn't going to college. He was going to go sell bottles like that. And I was like, Lucas, that's wrong. It's not the right.
Well, listen, hey. Well, there is some truth to that a little bit, right? I mean, like, hey, no,
we won't get throw in $100,000 and throw you off and make it fun. It's gonna be good.
Exactly.
This will be great.
There it is. Well,
hey, Jonathan, listen, we've had a great time with each other. We hope you enjoyed it as well.
Yes.
Next time I'm out in New Orleans, I work out in New Orleans, so I'm not far. If you ever want to grab a drink, I'd love to stop up to the shop in Mississippi, say hello. It'd be awesome. But we're very honored.
Yes.
You
Thank
joined
you
us
so
tonight.
much.
Thank you. We hope you had fun too. This has been great.
I appreciate you guys. I enjoy the show. Just listen to you as a consumer, of just nice, truthful, straightforward. This is what we believe in the whiskey. Not trying to. What do you think? Someone, do what they want to hear, right? You guys just talk about what you believe in, and again, that's what I believe as well. And it's that's what this is all about. I tell people, open the bottles, have a good time, get your friends over, and have some fun with it, and we appreciate all the love and support of KLuke from you guys, from the whiskey community, the 5 states that we're in, all the people that shop with Blake at Steelbox and Jay at Sherport. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to be something special behind everyone's back bar and, a fun, consistent party. So.
No, we definitely appreciate what
you and Jennifer
doing. Keep it
Keep
going.
doing it. We can't wait for 2024 and all the goodness that will come from KLuke, and I hopefully it just keeps going.
Yeah. So to especially to our patrons, but anybody who wants to, you're going to put the link up.
Yeah. So we have
we do. So Jonathan, we have an advent calendar with our patrons. So every day we
put a KLuke in the Patreon calendar, by the way. It's probably
That's because they don't want to share it.
That's exactly what it was.
That's a compliment.
That's what it
That's
was.
that's a compliment.
No one put a KLuke in it.
But yeah, so we're gonna go live after. We're gonna talk to Jonathan for a couple of minutes after we get
Yes.
off air, and then we will. Todd will put
I will post it.
Put the post up. So come right back. We'll do day. What is it? 6?
Day 5 of Advent.
Yeah, of Advent. But Jonathan, again, thank you very much. We truly do appreciate you very much. So for coming on and keep up the good work. It's awesome.
Please do.
Thanks, guys. And for everyone to keep up with our releases, if you go to KLukeWhiskeyCompany.com, you can sign up for our newsletter. That'll let you know when we're doing these events, things over in New Orleans. We've done some things in Nashville, obviously working on getting out to more markets, doing more tastings and things. You can also keep up with all our current releases, current fresh. It's really exciting. Like I said, we're in some pretty strong spots for top 100 whiskey slots of the year. So if you go to KLuke Whiskey Company, sign up for our newsletter, and keep up with all that. Our Facebook page, Instagram, all the usual channels where you guys are at. We appreciate the support, and again, look forward to putting out a quality product for everyone to enjoy. So thank you guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you.
Hey, hope to have a drink with you real soon, man. We appreciate you. Our best to the family. Happy holidays,
Yes.
and thanks again, Jonathan. We appreciate you. Great stream.
Yeah,
Guys.
wonderful.
All right,
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. We'll be back on in a few minutes after we talk to Jonathan. But thank you again. See you next week. And
Rock on.
rock on.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Because my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. They're like